I've now removed the throttle control body from the MR2 Spyder. This is what it was look like on the orientation in the car. This is the metal gasket that is seen towards the injector's pipe. It has a honeycomb pattern within it. Some people cut it out. I'm going to leave it in. The way it is set up there, the rubber layer, which you can see, that ring that surrounds it, that goes onto the throttle body. I've now turned the throttle body upside down so you can see the idle air control valve unit with the two pipes pointing upwards. That is held on by 3 screws. The screws are JIS screws, Japanese industrial screw. They are not Phillips screws. These are found on motorcycles and obviously on MR2s. They are extremely difficult to get out unless you can end up stripping them out. The best thing I've found to use is an impact driver, and using a small hammer, just tap them. They'll eventually you'll hear them just break loose. At that point you can use then a Phillips screwdriver to undo them. They are very tight, and as you can see on mine, I've managed to chew up one of the screws. The screw sizes are M5s with a thread of 0.8. I strongly suggest that you change them to a bolt, which is what I will do with the one that I've chewed up. Having removed the 3 screws, I'm now going to remove the idle activation valve from the throttle body. You will there see the gasket that sits in a well on the throttle body, a rubber gasket. This is a view of the control valve, having removed it from the throttle body. The end of the valve has 2 security screws holding in the control unit onto the main section of the alloy body. These screws look like torque settings, but they are not. I could not find a torque set to be able to undo them. In the end, I dremeled cuts into them to remove them. This is one of the screws with a slot cut in to allow it to be removed with a standard screwdriver. Before I completely remove the screws, you notice I've put a yellow marker across the main body and the housing, the alloy housing. This is so they can be aligned afterwards when I remake it. The reason is the body itself, where the screws mount, you'll see they're on slots, so therefore there is a small amount of movement that you can achieve within it. So to make sure it is back in the same position, I will do so by using that yellow marker and aligning it when I bolt it back together. Once you separate the end housing from the main alloy section, you will see that there is a rotating bar that I'm using my finger there to move, and that opens the flap, which allows the air to bypass through the throttle body when it's on tick over. And this that you can see now, in there it was absolutely rusted, and the bar was completely solid, was not moving at all. So that there was no movement there at all, it just didn't move, it was jammed up. So I've spent a lot of time freeing that up, and now it is moving, and I've checked it with a 12 volts on it, and it will move when connected to the end unit. You'll also see a groove running round, into which there is an O-ring that is there to keep, I would assume, water out of this unit to stop it from rusting. However, you know, my car's been sitting for some time, and I think it's just managed to bypass that O-ring. And that's the unit. There's nothing that can be seen with that one. I just cleaned all the rust out of it, and that's as much as you can do. There are no further way of dismantling it. I don't think there's a need to it either. So once you free that up, that will probably be where the problem is. There is a tab at the top there, which if you keep that in that position, when you put the end unit back on again, that's the position it comes off in. Okay, so that's that tab. You've got the water feeds either side there. At the front, you've got 2 water feeds that come from the main engine block that just feed that chamber there and run through. Not quite sure what they do, but they're there. Okay, so this unit will now work. These bolts that held the end unit on, the ones I put slots in, these are M4s, and they are about, the thread section is 20mm long, and it's a 0.7 thread, which is a standard thread. So these will be changed now for M4s, M4s with a 20mm length, with a standard 07 thread on them. Okay, that's the main throttle body. The facing section there is what faces towards the injectors, and that's the throttle control on that side, an extremely strong spring. And there you can see the flat bearing, which is, as I say, very strong. Use quite a bit of carb cleaner in there to clean all the innards out, which is certainly worth it. This is after I've done the cleaning, not before, but I thought it might be worth making this video so you can see what the units look like. Engine normally starts first time. Idle speed runs at 1500 revs, but the engine is cold. So I'll pause the video and then do it in another few minutes. Okay, about 5 minutes later, temperature gauge is moving towards normal. It's not yet on normal, but the revs have dropped down, as you can see now, to that's about 800, which is the right running revs for Takeover.